There's a fresh legislative proposal in the United States Congress that seeks to abolish your entitlement to hold dual citizenship. I have been emphasizing for years that securing a secondary passport is essential. More recently, I've been advising that you should possess several passports. Presently, I shall discuss the Exclusive Citizenship Act, which Senator Bernie Moreno endeavors to enact, and its potential implications for you and my suggested course of action. Here's the news item from Newsweek stating that eligibility criteria for citizenships are set to be altered for a multitude of Americans under a new piece of legislation. This bill has not yet been sanctioned. Numerous bills are proposed by senators who are merely seeking public attention, such as Bernie Moreno. However, I intend to disseminate this narrative to you and subsequently offer my opinion and perspective on how you should regard this matter. As an American, how you should prepare, do me a service before we commence. Articulate your choice in the comments below. If you are an American obliged to select between U.S. citizenship and a foreign one, which would you retain? I'm curious, and perhaps disclose which passport you would elect to keep. Here's the narrative. Republican Senator Bernie Moreno has submitted a bill to abolish dual citizenship for Americans. The Exclusive Citizenship Act of 2025 would stipulate that citizens of the United States must pledge sole and undivided fealty to the United States based on the bill's wording. If the statute is put into effect, it would signify that an individual cannot be a U.S. citizen if they also possess nationality of another nation. For instance, if you traveled to the Caribbean and obtained an investment-based citizenship document in Antigua or Dominica or St. Lucia or any of the others, or if you investigated your ancestral lineage as some of my associates' family and clients have done, let us assume you acquired your Italian citizenship because your forebears originate from there. You desired to have that alternative for your offspring to study or reside in Europe. That might be removed if you got married, if you lived overseas at some point and returned. All those methods of obtaining passports would in essence become invalid if Bernie Moreno prevails. It remains indeterminate how many Americans might be affected if this occurs, as U.S. law does not mandate people to declare or register dual. Citizenships and the government does not keep a record. Individuals often become perplexed about this, where the U.S. government does not acknowledge you as a foreign citizen in their nation. When you are in the United States as a U.S. citizen, you are an American. You cannot avail yourself of consular protection from your other country's legation. You are an American. Nevertheless, they do not prevent you from possessing other passports. And that is what Bernie Moreno aspires to modify. And what I have been stating to you for some time is, you cannot rely on either political faction. Even if you presume, hey, Bernie Moreno is advocating for my interests, he is not. He is prioritizing his own professional advancement. He wishes to attract attention. He genuinely does not concern himself with your entitlements. He merely seeks to guarantee his re-election. And he wants to realize his nationalistic concept that resonates with the lowest denominator. He does not care if you have possibilities, and you thought he was going to rescue you because he was the freedom candidate. Well, he is not. Specialists have calculated the number of U.S. dual citizens could range to 500,000. It is considerably greater than that, I can assure you. Up to 5.7 million. I would speculate it is probably even superior to that. And a report in Forbes proposed that approximately 40% of Americans might be qualified for dual citizenship. I would conceive many of those would be through citizenship by lineage. That is something that we assist our clients to secure. You trace your ancestry, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. We have aided clients in achieving that in Portugal and Italy and Poland and Slovakia and predominantly countries all around Europe, sometimes Latin America too. The article persists that, according to the contents of the bill, to safeguard the integrity of national citizenship, loyalty to the United States must be undivided, because holding foreign citizenship as a U.S. citizen could engender clashes of interest and divided loyalties. This is a typical misinterpretation, and people ask, how, Andrew, with all your passports that you're accumulating, who are you going to be faithful to? Yes, because I always recall the renowned St. Lucia-Montenegro conflict of 1997. Never forget the great St. Lucia-Montenegro hostilities. Who would I, if something happened, who would I be loyal to? Never forget the great Sao Tome and Principe and Nauru dispute. If you acquire those two passports through investment, who only comprehends what might transpire if things go awry truly? I mean the concerns of Italy versus the United States. If you desired to formulate a bill asserting you cannot be North Korean, perhaps I could concur with you. And certainly I have 3 sisters who were adopted from Russia. They are uncertain about their citizenship status in Russia. They are naturalized American citizens. It is the only passport they possess. They definitely make no attempt to travel or function as Russian citizens. And if they wish to formally go through the procedure of informing Russia, hey, for sure I am out, they can do that. But this concept that if you are American and Canadian, your allegiances are split for what? Except the fact that here is what it does. It makes the government actually have to be practical. The belief that if you are American and Canadian, and as a Canadian, you think you know what, I do not believe our nation should be the 51st state that makes you disloyal. No, it means that you can actually be rational, and you do not have to profess devotion to Bernie Moreno and his political group. You might suppose I am some empathetic liberal champion here. I guarantee you this is still Nomad Capitalist, and I promise you I am the same freedom-focused advocate of minimal government I have been since we commenced here in 2012. The U.S. government's aspiration to prevent you from having a second citizenship points to their realization that the decline of the nation is imminent. This bill would forbid dual citizenship or multiple citizenship, and establishing that an individual may not be a citizen or national of the United States while concurrently holding any foreign citizenship. And it declares that no later than a year after the bill is passed, U.S. citizens who also possess foreign citizenship must furnish a written rejection of their foreign citizenship to the Secretary of State, or a written rejection of their U.S. citizenship to the Secretary of Homeland Security, as they named her Taco Bell. Those who omit to adhere promptly to the requirement shall have been deemed to have willingly relinquished U.S. citizenship, it appends. Now, the query is, if the U.S. government has no register of these passports, well, how are they going to possibly determine this? Malta, which, with its now inoperative MIM program, actually published a list of people who obtained the passports. Most countries do not. But the actuality is, the U.S. government, if they desire to, is pretty adept at uncovering this information. Certainly if you endeavor to travel somewhere, or if your travel patterns do not make sense, or if you utilized your foreign passport elsewhere, they could eventually detect that quite easily. What I am pondering is, the U.S. has always appeared to view more favorably people who renounced citizenship when they were obliged. We had a client who became Dutch. The Netherlands is prohibiting dual citizenship for naturalized citizens. And so now when he travels back to the United States on an ESTA, he is capable of going there solely through the visa-free arrangement. They say, hey, what? It says you are born in the U.S. What happened to your U.S. passport? Oh, I live in the Netherlands. I had to surrender it. They made me, oh, okay, fine. Versus a guy like me who is vocal about doing it. I did not have to do it. I simply did not wish to be a citizen anymore for a multitude of reasons, which I have discussed for the last 8 years. And so would this garner you less animosity? Would they look a bit more kindly, hey, you did not tell us for a year, so we just marked the box that you must have not wished to be here. By the way, how does that function? If you do not file a report in a year, do they just come around and apprehend? Does ICE come and gather you up? Do they send Kristi Noem to your door to expel you? Do they put you on a flight to El Salvador? When I relinquished my citizenship, and when everybody else relinquished it, you have to do so outside the country. People ask, how do they eliminate you once you renounce? Well, you renounce overseas. You hand them your passport and you walk out after that second visit, effectively not being a citizen, paperwork, and final confirmation notwithstanding. And so what if you just are situated in the United States? It is kind of absurd how this will be executed. And I am sure they will devise some method, but I am sure it will be determined with total disregard to your range of choices. Because, it was Obama who implemented FATCA to make opening a bank account challenging. I do not endorse that. Nor do I support Trump and this administration with this ultra-nationalistic view that you cannot possibly be an American, but desire to have alternatives somewhere else. This is why I informed you from the beginning I was opposed to America First. It does not make me a communist. Believe me, I'm here as much a profit-seeking capitalist as I ever have been. But what I recognize is, if you are going to be a profit-seeking capitalist, I have affirmed for years I would prefer to be St. Lucian than American. You will be better respected all around the world. I would prefer to be many nationalities that you can acquire by investment, by fiat, by ancestry, by naturalization. I would prefer to be those than be American. And so, if they compelled me to choose, I would choose to depart. I certainly, in my position with multiple passports, would choose to leave. But this is the inquiry you're going to have to pose to yourself. If ultimately this law gets passed, maybe not this one, but the next one, which would you choose? And you want to construct your plan around that. So we have some Americans who are stating the new Sao Tome and Principe citizenship by investment. It is the least expensive program available. They appreciate it. It is a good plan B. I do not plan on renouncing. Let me get Sao Tome. It is a low-commitment second passport. Okay, well, maybe you ought to work on the third passport. And those two second passports supplement each other pretty well. Not as well as the U.S., maybe, but sufficiently close to where, if something like this transpires, you can make a determination to proceed with your plan. The worst outcome that could happen is you're saying, listen, I do not really trust the U.S. government. I do not rely on them with my money. I do not even trust them to run the airports because air traffic control cannot operate. That is underdeveloped nation conduct. They cannot even get planes to depart effectively. Now I have already ceded U.S. citizenship. I'm no longer their subject. This does not pertain to me. But if you are thinking, hey, I like what Andrew is doing, I'm going to cautiously begin it. I believe that this is going to force you to reassess what you want to do. To say, I probably want to go a bit more enthusiastically into getting that third passport, collecting a couple of domiciles, probably placing those domiciles under one of the second passports where they are not connected to your U.S. passport, unless there is a particular reason to where if you ever abandon the U.S. passport, your domiciles are already prepared to go, and they are not at risk of revocation. That is something, especially in Latin America, they may cancel your residence permit if you no longer hold the passport. I learned that the difficult way. I have affection towards the countries that I am a citizen of. What I decline to be is unthinkingly patriotic. And what I certainly refuse to have in my life is a fanatical former romantic partner who is incensed they do not have dominance over you. So they are frantically transmitting messages. Hey, I saw you. I saw you. I took a picture of your car. That is what this is. That is what it is. It is the precise same deranged former lover who is shadowing around. It is either me or her, and she is trying to, vandalize the girl's front door that you are with now. This is disorder. The inquiry is psychological question. Do you want the psychotic former partner to be the country you are a citizen of? I have stated for a long time, why do you want that to be any of your citizenships? Their ultimate objective is you never depart their country. I have thought that from the outset. That is their goal. That is why I relinquished citizenship, because I said this kind of America First environment is going to come and damage a guy like me, because they want me to be in their country, or else they look disapprovingly on me and they will find ways to penalize me. And I have been accurate on that. For those of you who would like to collaborate with Nomad Capitalist to cultivate your collection of passports and domiciles and bank accounts so that you have the capacity to say, hey, Bernie, I am not content with this. And if you pass this law, I am prepared to walk away. Not partially ready, not a fraction ready, not testing the waters, but I have got the entire plan. It is organized, it is ready to go. You go to nomadcapitalist.com, apply. I am not going to ask you to do anything that I have not personally done myself. I am not sitting recording this video in Austin informing you how bad the U.S. government is. I have left. I am seeking to help clients who want to do what I have done. Not just go out and buy a passport from one of these companies that all want to associate with us. By the way, if you would see my LinkedIn, how many people in the residence and citizenship industry message me every day? Can we just have a meeting? I am in Dubai. Hey, can we have a meeting? They all want to spend time with Nomad Capitalist because Nomad Capitalist has something distinctive. And I think it is because we help people really construct a comprehensive plan that I have done the arduous work of determining how to do it. And I want to impart that with you so that you are equipped, because I have known for some time this kind of thing was unfolding. I have known for some time more countries are going to introduce citizenship-based taxation. It is not a question of if, it is a question of when. And the issue is, will you be prepared? Because the last time a matter of this magnitude arose, we had our U.S. clients, several of them contacting me with mere weeks remaining saying, can I get a second passport? I want to get out. No, you cannot get a second passport in a few weeks. You need your plan established optimally years in advance. Certainly better years too early than a day too late. I understand. The U.S. is still perceived by many people, including by you, as this great place, but eventually this stuff is going to adversely affect you. And this is why I have been advising you need multiple second passports. Because it may take multiple second passports to have the courage to say, you know what, I do not need this US, and I am not going to continue to be pressured like this. Subscribe, like, and share for more interesting videos.